Good morning and welcome to the 27th Annual Georgia Gang Investigators Association Summer Training Conference. Before we begin, I would like to recognize and thank some special guests in attendance this year: Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, Attorney General Chris Carr, U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia, Theodore Hertzberg, as well as our extended GGIA family from across the country, members of the North Carolina Gang Investigators Association, as well as Arizona Gang Investigators Association, and our brothers and sisters from the Broward County Sheriff's Office in Florida. Thank you for your partnership and for standing with us in this fight. Members of the 2025 Meriwether County Youth Leadership Class. On November 13, 2024, I had the honor to meet members of the Meriwether County Youth Leadership Class, consisting of 15 high school students. The youth leadership class identified gang activity and crime as a concern that it impacted youth within their school setting and throughout their own community. It was in this capacity that I had the privilege to speak to them about the gang crisis here in Georgia and across the United States. This youth leadership team took it upon themselves to conduct a group study regarding the rise in gang violence and understanding the why. To share their findings, the Georgia Gang Investigators Association has invited the youth leadership team to give you their findings. What greater voice to listen but than to our youth right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome members of the 2025 Meriwether County Youth Leadership Team.
My name is Payne Erickson. I'm a rising junior at Flint River Academy in Meriwether County, and we are Meriwether County's Youth Leadership Program Class of 2025. First, I would like to thank U.S. Attorney of the Northern District of Georgia, Theodore Roosevelt, the Attorney General, Chris Carr, and Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, along with the GGIA, for allowing us to be here to speak on a topic that can bring attention and awareness to such an elite group of individuals. None of us would have imagined just a year ago that we would be speaking before you and bringing attention to all of you about a topic that is so near and dear to our hearts because we see it and we live it in our community alongside our peers. When we were given our application for this class in April of 2024, we were asked the simple question: what do you think are three major challenges that we face in our community? Almost every single answer was along the lines of the rise in gang violence, the unemployment rate, and just poverty in itself. In the fall, when Mr. Ramirez came to speak to our class on his testimony, it really hit our hearts, and it led us to start the research and create the project A.C.E. A.C.E. Adverse Childhood Experiences. The textbook definition of A.C.E. tells us that it is a traumatic experience that a child really occurs in his youth and in his childhood, but we all know that it is so much more complex than just a child's experience. A child can experience an A.C.E. in ways that include experiencing violence in their home, abuse, or even just neglect from their parents or community. It can also occur when having a family member attempt or die by suicide, even in their home, on just more serious notes. A child's environment also plays such a huge role in their ability to feel safe and stable. When they don't feel safe and stable in their home, they turn to things like drugs, alcohol, and gang violence. It can cause them to have serious mental health problems and get in with the wrong people to feel the sense of stability that they don't get at home because maybe their parents are separated, maybe their parents are going through a divorce, or on a more higher and much more serious note, they have a parent in jail or in prison and not there to give them the sense of safety and stability that they need to truly develop. When you truly sit down and think about an A.C.E., you think about adverse childhood experiences, well, because that's what it means. But An ACE can occur in someone's life, not just in their childhood, but it can occur at any point in anyone's lifetime.
Hi, my name is Mara Schilke. I recently graduated from Manchester High School in Meriwether County, and I am attending College Coastal Georgia in the fall. Today I'm going to talk to you about a very important cause. That cause is how families who face unemployment usually also face many adverse childhood experiences in their home. There are several reasons for this. My first reason is that most community factories in our United States are moving to across seas. They're moving across seas because of the cheaper labor costs and because there's fewer safety regulations. In countries like the US, Canada, and Western Europe, it costs more to pay their workers versus in developing countries. In these developing countries, there is also fewer labor regulations. They're not as safe. As a result, parents are trying to work multiple jobs and they work longer hours and travel longer distances to find employment, or they can't find employment at all. The second reason is that we are in an economic crisis. Things that were the same, things that are more expensive now were cheaper 2 to 5 years ago. Because of this, people have to work longer hours. Children are not worrying about finishing their homework, where their pencil is, or what they'll wear tomorrow, because they're worrying about where their parents are, or whether or not they will have food to go home to. The children of these parents who go through unemployment often have to deal with adverse childhood experiences. The parents aren't in the home, whereas families that have a higher education or training in a trade field are more likely to find employment and be home with their children to help and support with their education and any extracurriculars. These children can focus on school and being just children.
J. Harmony Porter, I'm from Manchester High School, and let's be honest, no child wakes up and says, I want to join a gang. They wake up saying, I want to feel safe, I want to care, I want someone to care, I want to matter. But when they grow up in an unstable environment, when the only world a child knows is one full of pain, violence, and loss, they start to cope the only way they know how. Truth is, 90% of juvenile delinquents in the U.S. have experienced some sort of traumatic event in their childhood. 90%. That is not a coincidence. When kids grow up in violent communities, it teaches them to see the world differently. It teaches them that violence is normal. People disappear, and love doesn't always stay. So they build walls. They toughen up, because emotions feel like a liability, and vulnerability becomes a weakness. That's how gangs become attractive. Not because they offer violence, because they offer something that looks like protection, like family, like belonging. But that belonging comes at a cost that way too often ends in handcuffs, headlines, or heartbreak. But here's what I believe. Hurt doesn't have to end with harm, not if we catch it early, not if we meet it with empathy instead of judgment. We've got to stop asking, what's wrong with that kid? And start asking, what happened to them? We cannot simply arrest our way out of trauma. We cannot punish away pain, but we can listen. We can support. We can make the streets a little less loud by making our voices, the ones of care and compassion, a little louder. Because the truth is, behind almost every kid holding a weapon is a kid that once reached out for help and no one reached back. Adverse childhood experiences not only affect the child's sense of security, but also their ability to learn and focus in a classroom setting.
Good morning, my name is Tawaria Hill. I'm a rising senior at Manchester High School, and I want you to imagine something with me really quick. There's a student in the back of your class, hoodie on, head down, they never turn in homework, and they're always late. Now our first thought, they're lazy and that they don't care. But have we ever stopped ourselves in that moment to ask, why should they care, or why are they behaving this way? Because here's what we don't see. That same student could have went to bed hungry, could have went to bed wondering why the people around them don't care about their life, listening to gunshots, or wondering if their mom would be able to pay the light bill this month. So asking them to try, they're honestly just trying to survive. So for many students, education feels like a dream that they're not allowed to have. They're surrounded by a constant cycle of poverty, broken homes, and gang violence, which makes school feel more like a fantasy and not a future. Because when there's nothing but chaos around you, it's hard to wake up in the morning and focus on a math equation. When no one at home asks you about your grades or shows up at parent night, you start to believe that your success doesn't matter. And when you see the people around you give up on their life, you start to think you should just give up on your own. That's what a lack of encouragement does. It doesn't just silence voices, it steals futures. Too many kids grow up listening to, "You won't make it, school isn't for people like us, or nobody in this family will ever go to college." So they stop trying. Not because they don't want better, but because they've never seen better. And let's be honest, how do you chase something that you've never been shown? It's not just a lack of motivation, it's a lack of hope. And like a flower, hope does not die on its own. It disappears when nobody waters it, when no one says, "I believe in you," when no one says you're more than what's around you, when no one reminds them that their circumstances do not define their worth. That's why education matters so much, because it's more than just textbooks or text. It's a door that too many kids don't even know exists because it's never been opened for them. So what can we do? We show up, we speak up, and we remind students that their voice matters even when it's the smallest one in the room. We remind them that they can break that cycle even if it's all they've ever been shown. We become the one person who sees them when everyone else has looked away. Because sometimes all it takes is one person, one moment, and one I.C.E. to change someone's entire story. So next time you see a student who looks like they stopped trying, don't say to yourself something's wrong with them. Ask yourself who stopped rooting for them, and then be the person to start. Thank you.
My name is Vivi Patel, and I recently graduated from Manchester High School in Meriwether County, and I will be attending Mercer University in the fall. And I'm so delighted to talk to each and every one of you about such an important cause. As I was growing up, I had two childhood friends. Their names were Mary and Sarah. Now, the summer before we went to kindergarten, Mary's parents helped her teach her ABCs, colors, and shapes. They wanted her to feel ahead and to feel more supportive as she went into the school year at such a young age. But with Sarah, her lifestyle was different. Due to parental neglect, she was unable to learn her ABCs, colors, and shapes. So as she went into school and into kindergarten, she fell behind even as a little kid. Now I want us to flash into middle school. Mary is excelling in all aspects with getting A, honor roll, and everything, and even helping tutor other students. And throughout this time, her parents are cheering her on through everything, being at all her sports events, at her award ceremonies, everything. They're there supporting her no matter what. But with Sarah, it's different. Her lifestyle is changing. Her parents are separating, there's addiction, there's hurting everywhere. And she doesn't feel the support that she needs. So she starts getting into more trouble. She starts getting those C's and F's in class. And she's taking tutoring lessons. But now it's finally time for all of us to graduate. Mary is in the top of her class. She's ready for that next stage of life, which is college for her, because her parents always were by her side. They motivated her, they asked her where she wanted to go. She always had a support group within her house. But with Sarah, it was different. The hurting got worse in the lifestyle. The home got worse, and she couldn't stop anymore, so she decided to drop out. With that, she had suspensions in school. She wasn't doing great. As you can see, Mary and her lifestyle was different than Sarah's. She was raised in a safe, positive environment, whereas Sarah was not. And with Sarah, she experienced A.C.E, leading to how her life is now. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Amani Hairston, and I'm from Greenville High School. I'm a rising senior. And I want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen to what we have to say today, and especially thank the Georgia Gang Investigators Association. The job you do does not go unrecognized. The things you witness and experience can sometimes be horrific. You may even find yourself awake at night with nightmares just from what you've seen. But just remember that your single night of nightmares could be a child's everyday waking life. And that is why your job is so important. While we're here at a resort, breakfast being served to us, some child is wondering where they're gonna lay their head tonight, wondering what they're gonna eat today, wondering if their family will be okay when they get home, wondering if they have to beg mommy and daddy not to hit them again. Every family's situation is different. Some struggle from abuse, while others are victims of gang violence. Gang violence is a prevalent issue in our communities. It causes so much harm to the families and children that are involved. So what can you do to help? Remember, arrest doesn't solve problems. It only prolongs them. Resources like therapy, counseling, and school wraparound centers for the needy are programs our county, Meriwether, has in place. Now, before we conclude, I want you to ask yourself these questions. How many more fathers have to talk to their child behind bars because they killed someone for no reason? How many more mothers have to break down sobbing because they're looking at their baby in a body bag? This has to stop in our community. Do not turn a blind eye to a child suffering. Gang violence and its causes are not an issue we can pretend doesn't exist. To stop gang violence, we have to start at the source, so this cycle does not continue. Help children that are struggling to find food. Make sure kids have nothing else to worry about in school other than their work. Give children love and care so they don't end up in the streets in the first place. From Meriwether County's 2025 Youth Leadership Program, Adverse Childhood Experiences. Thank you.